Hello YouTubers, today we'll be taking apart a Ruger 1022 trigger assembly. You'll probably need a nail, something about this big, about 1/8 inch in diameter. And we're going to start by taking the hammer out. First, there's this pin right here. You're going to take out this one, and this one. But I'm going to start with the hammer. You're going to take this part like this, push this pin out, set it aside in like kind of a group so you don't lose and mix up your pins, because if you do that, it's not a good sign. Next, you're going to take this pin out for the extractor and the auto bolt release, and watch out because there's a little spring in here. I don't know if you could see that, but it springs up. It won't go anywhere. Set this aside. Now you should be able to pull this ejector out and set that with that pin that it was on. Next, you're going to push your hammer forward, pull your your hammer spring up. I usually do it by gripping or sticking my nail on the spring and pulling it out. Next, you're going to be pulling the hammer out and the auto bolt release spring. Set that aside. Alright, the next thing you want to do is take the auto bolt release and the magazine release out. For this, you're going to be pulling this pin out right here. Push that out to the side, set that aside in a group where you know which one's which. Next, you're going to push the spring-loaded little button in, and your auto bolt or your magazine release should slide out. Set that with your pen for your magazine release. Keep that together and set that with your magazine release and your pen. Next, you're going to pull the auto bolt release out and set that aside. This is a stock one, but I actually ground it out with a jewelry file and it works completely fine. Next is the trigger. For the trigger, you're going to be pushing this pin out. Be sure not to lose any of the springs, or else you're pretty much out of a gun right now. Set that in a pile. And then there's the return spring for the trigger. I don't know if you can see that. It's right here. I'm going to pull that out for you and set that aside. I will not be taking apart the safety because of I heard that's a real big bitch to take apart. Anyhow, this is a stripped down receiver with the safety still in it. You're going to start by putting your return spring in this hole right here, the one I pulled out just a second ago. And I'm trying to look through the camera and do it, it's kind of hard. Anyway, I put it back in there and just make sure it doesn't fall out. Next, you're going to want to take your trigger, and there's it's like an L shape. You want to make sure it's kind of folded over like this, so the little leg right here is down. Next, you're going to take the sear, and one side of the sear, one side of the spring's kind of rounded to a point. I can't really show you because my camera's a piece. Anyhow, you want that pointed up, and you're going to put it in this hole right here. You're going to have the pointed end up. Next, you're going to have, like I showed you, you're going to have the sear pushed down on the disconnector as such, and make sure the spring's in the hole on the disconnector, and kind of crimp that together but not too tight. Next, this is the tricky part. You're going to take this and slide it in the top and feed it down through where the trigger guard is, and line up all this crap in the, you can't see it because my camera's a piece, but line it up and put a kind of like a pin in here. And then next you're going to want to push the, if I can get it lined up, you're going to take this nail and like put it through the hole where the pen goes and push your sear down a little bit right here. Just push it down towards the back of the trigger guard and just push your nail through. Next you're going to take your trigger pen and you're going to set it up against this nail and push it through so it backs out the nail. And it should just slide in like that. Next, you will be wanting to put in the shit over here, the auto bolt release, or the bolt release for some of you, the magazine spring holder, and the magazine release, and the magazine pen, or the auto bolt pen, and the magazine pin. In order to do that, you're going to want to take the spring and put this end out, the little end that has a hole, and then the smaller end that doesn't have a hole is going to go into the receiver in this hole right here. Just drop it in there, push it in with your finger and keep pressure on it, and then you're going to, if I can get the son of a bitch in there, take this, the magazine release, press it in there like this, and it should go in there. Slide it in and it should, I'll do it again, slide it up through there and it should lock when you let go of the spring. Next you're going to want to slide your auto bolt release in as such. It's going to go in like this. This is the left side of the trigger guard. So I'm going to drop it in like this on the left side. And then it's going to come down right here. Next you're going to want to line up the auto bolt release and the magazine. Once again, you can use that nail and get it lined up. Just kind of wiggle the stuff around till it goes through like such, and then take your little pen that was in there and push it through like I did with the trigger. There you go. Next is the hammer. The hammer, you're going to have this part facing towards the back of the trigger guard as such. And I'll show you why in a second. For this spring, you want this little L piece, I guess the little bend piece, to go down. And it's going to stick on that little notch on the auto bolt release. And it's going to ride on the right hand side of your hammer as such. Just slide that down and into the trigger assembly, if I can do it right, and it should go right over onto the auto bolt release. Next you're going to take the trigger or the hammer assembly pin and just line this up on the trigger guard, and you can use your little nail if you want and just push it on through. Next you're going to pull the trigger and slide your hammer forward, and you're going to want to put your firing pin spring in with this little notch on here. I don't know if you can see it, there's a little notch. I usually put that up and this hole down here in you can't really see it, but it goes out right here. I put that up in the hole, and then you slide this little, if I can do it right, slide this little end of the eye, the little stamp steel, into the back of the hammer. And for some reason this is not working because I don't know, but it should just go right in the back of the hammer as such, and just pull it back and lock it. Put the gun on, or the trigger guard on safe. Next, you're going to take the disconnector pin and you're going to slide it through on the left side, running it through the auto bolt release hole right here as such. Then you're going to take this disconnector and it's going to be facing up like this, like that. So put it on that pin and then slide it up in the slot. Next is that spring. This spring right here, I don't know if you can see it really well. You need to push that down and then push this pin through, and it should stay right there. And that's about it for your trigger guard assembly. Just put it on fire and fire it. Do it a couple times, make sure it works. Anyhow, let me know if you have any questions. This is Demolitions of Dirt with the Ruger 1022 trigger guard assembly and disassembly. Thanks a lot, guys.